It's time for my January reading wrap up as well as my February monthly setup in my reading journal. So stay tuned. Hey guys, I'm Tracy and this is A Girl with Plans. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you have yet to subscribe, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and flip to January. I did not film the setup for the month of January just because I was doing kind of the overall setups of my reading journal plus flip throughs and things like that. But I will do the flip through now as we kind of go through a really quick wrap up. I will give you like brief thoughts on the books that I read as I do my setup for the month of February. So I kept with my calendar. I like to have the little monthly calendar on my monthly page. This is where I notate the days that I read certain books. So right here, I have them all color coded with a dot marker and then the dots on the days that I read them. So that way I can just look here and be like, okay, well, I read this book on this day, like that. So that's kind of how I do it. I like it. It works for me. I pick out the dot markers I'm going to use for the beginning of the month and then put them in a little pen case and then I'm good to go. So yeah, I ended up reading every day in the month of January and I ended up finishing 8 books. So yeah, it was a really good reading month as far as quantity. It was kind of a mix as far as quality though. We'll get to that in a little bit. So I am doing quite a bit of readathons, not really reading challenges, it's more readathons, and some book clubs. Now I'm doing some like online book clubs, but I'm not necessarily like doing like any of the message board chatter or anything with it. I'm more just like reading whatever book they're reading. It just is kind of guiding me in a certain direction of a book to choose for the month, because I need that. So that's the reason why I'm doing some online book clubs. So that's what this page is. These 3 books here, or actually these 4 books here, are all for readathons. The Buzzword, The Year of Goober. There's like a Harry Potter one. And then this is The Adventures in Aladia, which is also like the Aurelium readathon, like when I do like the summer equinox and the fall equinox. But yeah, so that's it. And then the 2 book clubs that I was doing, those are those picks. And these are just regular to-be-reads that I chose. I really wanted to read The Assassin's Blade, but I did not get to it. All the other ones I read, that one I did not get to. It is a physical book, and it's just so much easier for me to read an ebook. So that's one of the reasons why I did not get to it. But yeah. So all of the stickers that I use, with the exception of the hexagons are Mojo Jojo, is from Book Nook Prints. You can follow Book Nook Prints over on Instagram. Sometimes there are freebies that she gives out, but she has an Etsy shop with printables, and that's what I did. I'm going to do the same for this month as well. So that's what I did. I did a 1-page graphic. I'll show you how to do that when I set up this month. And then I just kind of did the fancy waterfall tab again. I called it, this is really more of a waterfall tab than a Dutch door, because I just kind of cut off the edge, and instead of doing multiple sheets of washi, I did stickers with the washi in the background. And then here's my January stats. And then this page, I need to figure this one out because there's a lot of space here. So I can probably do some more like topics or maybe more decorations. I don't know. So for my stats, as I said, I finished 8 books. 5 of them were ebooks. 2 of them were audiobooks, and 1 of them was a combination of both, where I ended up counting it as far as like pages instead of hours, because I read more than I listened to. So with that said, I read almost 2,900 pages and listened to I listened to more than, but the official count was 22 hours of audio, but I listened to more just because that one book was kind of half and half. So I'm also really trying to keep track of the source of the reading. So whether or not it is like a paid subscription, like Kindle Unlimited, that is a paid subscription. Even though I get all these unlimited reads, I am paying per month. So that's considered a paid subscription. Spotify, Audible, things like that are paid subscriptions. And then like right now I just have Libby, but it's really Libby or Hoopla, which are both like libraries. So I did 3 Kindle Unlimited, 3 Libby, that's Libby / Hoopla, because I know I did 1 for Hoopla, 1 Spotify, and 1 Audible. And I'm also kind of trying to keep track of like series, standalones, and things like that. This is a new one for me. My series started, I started 2 new series, which I really did not need to do because I have so many series that I'm in progress of reading. I am continuing one series, and that is the Fourth Wing series. Yeah. I have not finished any. I started 2 new duologies. Hopefully I will finish those up pretty soon. And I did not finish any of the duologies. And I read 3 standalones. So my average rating of this month was 3.7. What I ended up doing here was like breaking it down by stars. Those are really ugly stars. I might have to cover those with stickers, like star stickers, because I'm really not feeling those stars. But what I did was I did 5 stars, like over 4 stars, then 4 stars, then like over 3 stars and 3 stars. So like 3.1 to like 3.9 is kind of when I say over 3 stars. And then I had one book that I gave a 2.75, so that was a 2+ star one. So I gave 3 books, and I think they were like 3.5 stars is what I did. So that was like the most common one. I did give a 5-star read, y'all. Yes, I did. And that was my favorite book, which ironically was Heavenly Bodies. That was a book club read. See what I'm saying about these like book clubs? Like, even though I'm not necessarily like chatting or anything like that with it, these book clubs are like guiding me in a certain direction for certain books that I probably would not have picked. I know for a fact I would not have picked that book. And I did, and I ended up being a 5-star read. It was crazy. And my favorite one, obviously, of the month. So that was good. I need to tape that down. My washi's peeling up. My least favorite was An Academy for Liars. That was also a readathon book for the Buzzword Reading Challenge. It just wasn't my thing. It's decently rated. I think it's like close to a 4-star rating, like on Goodreads and things. That was my 2.75 star. I listened to it on audio. I don't know if I would have a different viewpoint if I could read it, but I might have DNF'd it if I had to actually read it. It started out very interesting, and then it just lost me. I just was not interested. I could care less about the characters. I did not like the main character. I didn't care about the love interest. I just didn't. Yeah. So yeah. My honorable mention, which was like close to a favorite, was Nectar of the Wicked. That was another one that completely caught me by surprise. I like read it because it was a shorter book. I think it was definitely less than 400 pages. And which is kind of short for a romantasy, because a lot of those are like 500-600 pages. So that was kind of short for that. And that's the reason why I read it. And Honest Fiction on YouTube and Instagram highly recommended the book. So it had been on my radar, but I read it this month specifically for the length. And that did also fulfill a readathon. But that one, I just thought it was really good. It was really good. It surprised me. I think that's what it was. That one, Heavenly Bodies. Actually, none of these books I really knew what to expect. And those I was pleasantly surprised. And then 2 of them I weren't. So like Academy for Liars, like I said, was my least favorite. But the most disappointing for me was the Book of Azrael, because I was really looking forward to that. That had been on my TBR since like a good part of last year, and I never read it. And it started out so good. I was so interested. And then for a big chunk of the middle of the book, I mean, probably from like the 25% mark to like the 75% mark, I was bored. I was so bored. It was so annoying. A lot of the like action kind of settled down, and I was struggling. I almost DNF'd it. But I kept pushing through. It did get better at the end, but I don't know that I want to continue reading it. There's just too many books that I want to read that, because I didn't enjoy that one, I think it's just going to go down on the list, and I may not read it unless the next book fulfills a prompt, because it might be better. It did end pretty interesting, and I gave it, I think, like 3 or 3.5 stars, so I didn't completely like hate it. It was just really boring to me in the middle. The longest book was Onyx Storm, and the shortest was Nettle and Bone. I still have to do favorite character and favorite quote. So that's it. Now we are going to get to my reading reviews. I'm going to like flip through these kind of quick. I don't think I have very many spoilers in here, but I might. So you might not like want to look into it. But what I do is I kind of just write my overall thoughts of the book. So not necessarily a synopsis or anything, but what I think about the book. Still can contain spoilers because I could write about something that annoys me about somebody. But I write like when I start and finish the book, whether if it's part of a series, like what number of, it is. And of course the pages or the audio length, whether or not I would recommend it, whether or not I would reread it. So I kind of note those things on here. I didn't do it on this one, but I've noted it on some of these. Then I do my spice rating, which isn't like the spice meter. That's my acronym. And I went over this during my initial setup, but it's for style, plot, intrigue, characters, and enjoyment. And it spells out spice. And that's how I come up with my ratings. So it'd be kind of interesting though, in all honesty, like some of these, like I was reading Nectar of the Wicked and Academy for Liars at the same time. And because I really disliked this book, did it make me like this book more? You know what I'm saying? Because this one might be more intriguing because this one just did not like. So yeah, we'll see. We actually won't see. But if I chose to reread it, then we would see. But I'm not really a rereading type person, but I do think I'm gonna go ahead and continue the series, so we'll see if the second book is just as good or not. And then on a whim, I ended up listening to a book, Home is Where the Bodies Are, because it was available on Hoopla like immediately, and it was really good. I really enjoyed that one. That was like one of the only books that was not part of a challenge or a readathon or anything like that. Then we had the Book of Azrael, of course, Heavenly Bodies. That got a whole page spread just because I wanted to write more than what a half page would allot me. But I didn't have enough to fill up the whole page, so I just threw stickers and things like that. It's fine. And then Heartless Hunter. That was one that Adventures in, I know I'm saying it wrong, Adventures in Aledia. That like the prompt was to pick a book that was published in 2024, and Heartless Hunter was published in 2024. It had also been on my TBR and I never read it. It's a YA. I'll talk about it during my recap. Really, really enjoyed it. The sequel, it's a duology, and book 2 is coming out in February. Hopefully I can read that. Nettle and Bone, that was part of the book club. Joshi Corinne, her and her book buddies have a book club, and that was pretty good too. And then Onyx Storm, it was fine. And then I had an extra page, so like basically I made like a bigger spread for Onyx Storm than I really wanted to, just because I needed to, because I was already full. And I have enough pages if I stick to like the 8 or less books a month or 10 or less books a month. I should be fine as far as number of pages for the rest of the year. And these spreads, but we'll see. So I kind of just carried the like monthly theme over to cover up the space. And then here's what I did, a reflecting area. Toward the end of the year, I had talked about how I started writing like just a little bit like a summary of my reading month as a whole. And like I might chat about a book, but it's more about talking about my reading mood because it could help enlighten how my readings went. So that's kind of what it is. Like, obviously, sometimes I might have a lot to write about. This month, I really didn't have that much to write about. So I wanted to, because this was a whole page left, like if Onyx Storm was over here, like how it was laid out, if it ended up over here, then I would have only did a half page and I probably only would have done reflecting. But because I had the whole page, I decided to do reflecting and then looking ahead. So this was about January and this is about February. So my most anticipated read for the month of February is Veil of Dreams. That is book 2 in the Fae Academy for Spies, I think is what the actual, for Fae Spy Academy, the series is. I read book 1 in like August, September. Really wanted to dive right into book 2, but book 3 doesn't come out until March. So I was like, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off. So now is the time to read it. So I'm super excited to read that. And then my anticipated new release is Rebel Witch, which of course is the follow-up to Heartless Hunter, right? Is that what it was? Heartless Hunter. Crimson Moth is what I want to say, because I know it's the Crimson Moth series, but I think in some places the title of the first book is actual Crimson Moth. And then I wrote the readathons I'm going to do, which are the same ones I did in January, and I'm adding one more, and we'll get to that when I do my setup. So that brings me to my setup. So I'm going to set it up the same. I might be able to go ahead and set up my summary page. I got some stuff on this somehow. So I'm gonna have to put some stickers on that. But I might be able to go ahead and set it up just because I know there's a lot of books I want to read this month. I hesitate to do, I'm definitely not going to do this yet because this is going to heavily depend on how many books I read. If I don't read that many books, then I'm not going to have all of this to write. So we'll see. So I really like doing the one-page graphic over here. Again, this is from Book Nook Prints. I printed this out. This was actually a February freebie. Everything I have today was a February freebie. Like, she gave a whole kit out for free. Definitely follow her on Instagram. That's how you find that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to have to cut it out so I can do my calendar. I actually have a template for my calendar. This is the size of the calendar I used last time. So I'm going to do that. And then I think that's it. I think that's where we're going to start. I'm just going to do the calendar. I might put it up higher and I might do a little bit bigger of a reading box because I felt like, sneeze break, I felt like this was like, I was getting a little nervous. First of all, like I had to like squish in the word audio next to home is where the bodies are. And I literally had just enough room for 8 books. I mean, I do write larger, but who knows? I might read 10, especially if you start reading like shorter books. Like, I do have like a novella I need to read, so it's like a little bit shorter. So, when you start adding things like that in, that could be more as well. All right, so we want to start here. All right, so the way I do my cutouts for this is like I printed the image on sticker paper, and then on the back, I'm just tracing my calendar, and I'm going to try to map out what pieces the cutout. So you could just cut out a square. That would be the most simple thing to do. But I sometimes like to have it where, because the Saturday is the 1st, I want the Monday through Friday to have the image in it and not the like box for the day. So basically I only want that week to have Saturday and Sunday. You'll see what I mean at the end, but that just complicates things. And it complicates things to an extent that for the 2nd month in a row, I cut it out wrong, but it's fine. I was able to piece it back together like a puzzle, and you can't tell unless you look really hard. So, yeah. This isn't like super simple, but it's not super hard to do. I like the way it looks, so I think it's worth like the little extra stress to try to cut everything out and tape it on, or, stick it onto the page. But, of course, just sticking stickers on the page would be so much easier than doing this. But yeah, I like the look. It probably will be bulking up my planner because I am putting a full page sticker on the page. But we'll see. I don't know that I'm going to do this every single month. It does use a lot of ink. So, I'll see how I feel in March about whether or not this will continue or not. So, I kind of talked about the books I read already. There's a few I didn't. I will say, out of all the ones I listened to, I really enjoyed the audio for Home is Where the Bodies Are. It is a suspense thriller, but it was one of the audios where they had multiple narrators and there were multiple points of view in the story. So you have like 3 siblings. The mom passed away, but you still have the mom. So you can like hear her point of view as well. So you have like 4 points of view. I think it's just 4 points of view, maybe 5, but you have those points of view. And even though you're still trying to find out who did it, who committed this crime years ago, you are still kind of learning about the characters because a lot of them are still going through personal things. And then there are some issues in their personal relationship with each other, the siblings. So it's not all focused on the who did it. It's a short listen. It wasn't that long. I think it was like 11 hours or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I highly recommend the audio. I'm sure the actual reading it would have been just as fine too, but I liked the multiple narrators and things like that. It made it super fun and super easy to follow. Now, I did listen to Academy for Liars, and like I mentioned, I don't think the audio was bad. I just don't think I liked the story as much. That one I will say, even though I didn't like it, a lot of other people do. It just might not be my cup of tea. Some of the dark academia I've read, I've kind of been on the fence about. One of them I really liked, one of them I didn't, and this one is another one I didn't. So now I'm like 1 for 3 and that kind of vibe. They do categorize this as a fantasy. I don't, though. I categorize this more as, I mean, there was magic. So yeah, I guess there's magic, but it was like, it took place in like Georgia, I think. Yeah, it took place in Georgia, and it was just like people with like magical abilities, but there weren't like any fantasy creatures or anything like that. So it wasn't what you think of in those like big like romantasy or high fantasy books out there. So it wasn't as complicated to figure out or to learn because everything was kind of in the modern world. I just didn't vibe. I didn't vibe with the book. That's pretty much all I can say. I talked about I really enjoyed Nectar of the Wicked and Heavenly Bodies. Both of those were surprising like reads for me. I will say Heavenly Bodies, I rated that 5 stars. And after I read it, I went back and looked at the reviews and people rate it like 5 stars or like 1 star. So there wasn't that much in between. It was like, you love it or you hate it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, of course, sometimes your reading mood can kind of dictate whether or not you enjoy it or not, but I really liked it. So I would recommend it, but it is like more of a higher fantasy, not higher fantasy, it's a little bit more of a complicated world. Okay, I'm going to pause on my reading reviews just for a moment. And I'm going to talk about what I'm doing right now for my setup. I'm trying to go back and forth because I figure I can talk about books while I'm doing the setup. But right now, I do want to talk about what I'm doing. So on this other page, the page that I'm getting ready to decorate now, that is going to be for my readathons and book clubs. What I'm cutting up now are all of the images that were made available by Tori. I have to think about what her handle is on YouTube and Instagram, but she is hosting this Romanticy-thon 2025 and it's really cool. However, it's only supposed to be like over the course of a week, I think. I'm not doing that. I'm doing it over the whole month, but you can like read one book and fill out multiple prompts. So technically you can read like only 2 or 3 books, but I don't like to be like that just stresses me out. Like I have to read more than one book in a week. I don't know if I can do it. I mean, I usually do it, but you know, whatever. So because there were like multiple pieces to this, like multiple images, there was like instructions, prompts, a TBR card, an invitation, like all kinds of like cute little things. I wanted to print them out. I sized them down. And then I was like, I'm going to make a pocket and just stick them in the pocket. That way they're not taking up a whole bunch of extra pages in my reading journal, but I have everything there for reference. So yeah, it ended up working out on the end. Like I said, just used a regular piece of colored paper. It's just thin paper to make my pocket and then just shoved the little cards down in there. And then I'm just kind of placing the other readathon books on the page so I can see where I can put my decorative stickers because I still need to decorate this, right? So I am going to do the waterfall edges again. This time I'm just using these like rectangle images, which are a lot easier to kind of when you put it on the reverse side, it's so much easier to line up than when you're trying to do either florals or something like that and you're trying to match up the odd shapes. With it being a rectangle, it's super easy. So that's what I'm going to do here. It's just, it adds stickers and it adds it to the edge. So even though it does take up a decent amount of space, it really doesn't take up as much because all the stickers are kind of like in one area. You'll see everything else kind of works out fine as far as placement and everything goes for my readathons and for my stats. I think that's pretty much the rest of the setup for this journal because you'll just see I'm just going to go ahead now and just kind of figure out placement of all of the stickers and things like that. So I guess with that, I can get back to some of the reviews. I'm not going to like talk about every single book I read. I mean, I only read 8, but still. I did read Nettle and Bone. That was part of a book club read. That was fun. I definitely would not have picked that if it wasn't part of the book club. I don't think it was ever on my radar. I might have seen it as like a recommended book on like Amazon or something, but it just wasn't something that like piqued my interest, but it was a fun read. I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I still only gave it like 3.5 stars, but I still really enjoyed it. It was easy, it was fun. So I was reading this at the same time that I was listening to Onyx Storm, and I was choosing to read this over Onyx Storm. So, I mean, that kind of tells you like the interest and the intrigue was here a little bit more, believe it or not, than Onyx Storm. Again, it might have all been like related to my mood, but that's kind of how it goes. So I thought it was fun. It was kind of YA, kind of fairy tale like. You get like I don't want to say a band of misfits, but kind of like a band of misfits together to like go on and take on the evil prince, type thing. So it was fun. It was fun. I loved all the characters. I think that's what also made it fun. But yeah, I would recommend it. Even though I gave it 3.5 stars, I still would like recommend that when like 100%. And that was a standalone. So that's another one. One of the other surprises was Heartless Hunter. That's part of the Crimson Moth duology. That one I've seen a lot of people rave about. So I've been wanting to watch. I've been wanting to read it, but I had never gotten around to it. So it was like one of those things I kind of wanted to read it, but I was like nervous. I was nervous because it's kind of YA, and some YAs I'm just like, ooh, I'm not really into. Yeah, I really liked this book. So it's like a witch and a witch hunter. And they're both like kind of toying with each other to see if the other knows who they are type thing, or well, she knows he's a witch hunter, but yeah, kind of like that. But it was cute. It was cute. It was a cute book. It's not like super, I mean, there are some like grim scenes or whatever, but it's not really as dark. It's historical. Like everybody's like horse and carriage type thing, and she's like part of like fancy society and things like that. So it's definitely a different world. I thought it was fun. Because again, this kind of takes place in like a normal society. So while it is fantasy, the only fantasy is the fact that there's witches. You don't have any other really magical creatures or anything like that. So there's not really much world building, so it's really easy to get into. This was almost like enemies to lovers, but maybe not really lovers. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. And the ending, y'all, the ending. Like this one almost got like 4.5, close to 5 stars just for that ending alone. I can't really say anything about how I felt about it other than the ending. So yeah, I'm super excited that the other book is like coming out in February. I just hope it comes out on Kindle Unlimited. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it waits a while. So I'm going to have to like stalk the library to see if it comes on my Libby app, if it's not on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, that one was really, really good. And then Onyx Storm, that's how I wrapped up the month. It took me a long time to get through Onyx Storm. I don't mind the narrator in the audio version, but I think I prefer to read it. And I ended up reading it more than I listened to it because the book became available at my library. But I'm still struggling with it. I'm not liking Violet and Xaden as much as everybody else is. I loved them in the first book. Absolutely loved them so much in the first book. Started losing my love for them in the second book. And now I'm just kind of over them. I like all the other characters so much more. And I want their story to be told so much more than Violet and Xaden. And I know I am like one of the few to say that. But it's like they're forcing their romance into the story when there's war going on or when they're preparing for battle. We don't need all that. We know that they're like in love with each other and stuff. Like he's become a completely different person. He's become obsessed and it's kind of annoying. I know some people really like that. I guess I don't. I guess I'm learning what tropes I like and what tropes I don't. So yeah, I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was just okay. I will probably continue on with the series, but I don't think I'm going to be like trying to read it like as soon as it comes out anymore. I think I'll just kind of, if I can get it, I can get it. Or if I'm reading something else, then I'll just keep reading that until I feel like picking it up. But yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts. I think that's kind of like the same thoughts I had with Iron Flame. Uh, so yeah, not much has changed. I do think I might like this one a little bit better than Iron Flame, if I'm being honest. Iron Flame, like the middle was such a lull. This one, the middle kind of picked up. The beginning was kind of the lull for me, and then it kind of picked up in the middle. So I think this one I do like a little bit better than Iron Flame. But yeah, that's all the books I'm going to talk about. I just basically wanted to chat while I was putting together my spread, so that way you can like at least hear me talk about books while you're watching the spreads. So there we go. And now I guess we will just kind of get back and wrap it up. Okay. I found these. I had these already made that I was using kind of in my reviews, but I kind of want to use bigger ones in my reviews. So I like that better than the hand-drawn ones that were kind of eh. So let's take a final look at this one. So I'm going to date this. I'm going to add like 1 through 28 there, and that's where I'm going to keep my log. I'm probably going to put the Romanticy-thon here, or the fall ball here. I still need to find my BBBC icon there, and then I have room for one more if I have one more book club. Now that I think about it, if I have one more, I'm gonna have to remove these, but that's fine. And then because this one still had like goo on it, I put boxes here, but I kind of like the way it looks. So I am gonna have a header here, just like I did here. So I'll just have like February stats or whatever. So I have that, and I've set that all up with my average ratings, my Kindle, Audible, stuff like that. So everything is set up, ready to go. Then over here is where I will kind of do my favorites and kind of like, you know, favorite, least favorite, longest, shorter, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the setup for February. So yeah, I'm having fun doing this. She's getting kind of thick already. She's about a quarter of a way full, but most of that's because of the setup at the beginning. But yeah, so much fun. I'm excited to start for February. I have some really good books that I want to read. I think I'm going to start with that one. We'll see. All right, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press that like button. If you have yet to subscribe, I hope you would also consider hitting that subscribe button while you're at it. I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening or night. Until next time, bye.